Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Okay, we're live. So let's see if we can figure this out. So we're broadcast on social media and on Fundraising Everywhere, so people can see the chat box and our video. But then if they go to that web address, then it's the chat box and they can take part. And that's also where we should be typing.
Typing everything that we're saying, or what?
No, I think it's like, I think the video. Think of the video like a director's cut. So
okay.
The text
Except everyone can see it.
Yeah, the text chat is us chatting, but then for that extra insight, that
little je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
So people can see this video now, or they'll see it later.
Yes.
Yeah, they can see
Right
it now and later.
Hello,
so
now and later.
when I write "Hi everyone," and it comes up, some people who are only reading will read, and then some people who are watching will see this. And so I can say, like, I said hi everyone, but actually there was melancholy in me when I said it.
This is fucked.
Well, that's on par with what's happening on the planet. So
why are you calling me a bozo already?
I'm redlined.
Okay, how's everyone? Oh wait, I said that.
Yeah.
Actually, now you can see that I type. I speak out loud when I type because I'm.
Oh wow.
Because I'm not smart. Yeah.
This is bizarre. I don't understand.
So this is going to take like an extra hour for us to actually have a conversation and type.
Why is that? Is that because we keep forgetting to type?
Yeah.
I don't think we have to type. I think.
So if you all just shut up and type, then we're good.
So type and not talk? I can't do
Oh God.
Anyway, what was the theme for today? Wait, should I be typing this? I'm not sure. What was the theme for today? Is it isolation? Is it like working from home? Is that what we're gonna do?
All of it.
So
isolation, angst.
Whoa, Clay's got an incoming lobster fact.
Lobster scoop. Let me get.
That's made up. It's not true.
I see. I can do like if we have a lobster spotting. Lobster spotted. Kim Kardashian has spotted a lobster.
And it'll be outed. What is this lobster doing out of social isolation?
Oh my
This
God.
lobster is not social distancing.
I don't understand that. So found a live lobster wandering. Kim Kardashian found a live lobster wandering her street yesterday.
It was probably just a like Beverly Hills sized scorpion, and she doesn't know that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I also just say to anyone who might be watching and don't understand what the typing is happening, that's below the video. Type away.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and people can tweet at us, and people can they can message us anywhere, and we see it all. I'll relay it.
Look at that lobster. Wow.
What's up, Glamour? Oh wait, hi Glamour. Wait, did I say that out loud?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it really different? Because you all work.
There really is a lobster on Kim Kardashian's street.
We all work from home. Is this different? How are you why is this different? Because all your family's there, or what?
So it's different for me because I'm in like not just social distancing and staying away from what's happening outside, but I'm also staying away from my family because I've just returned from Norway, and the Canadian government rules are that anybody that has come home needs to not only social distance, but also self-isolate. So I feel like I'm at one level higher than I would normally be, which is much harder for me. I'm still working from home the same way I would, but I'm not able to be in touch or contact with my family. And we have clients who, rightly so, are contacting us every 15 or 20 minutes or so to say, should I edit this? Should I change this? Should I still send this out? Is this tone deaf? What are we doing at the end of April? How should I? So certainly in the case of the Agents of Good, our clients are peppering us with a lot of questions about what they should be doing now and what they should be doing for the next 6 weeks. and what we think will be happening down the road. So it's a lot for me right now.
To what extent are you isolating from your family? Can you see them? Like they're in a different room?
I can see them, yes. I'm using a different part of the house than they are.
The West Wing?
Possible. The West Wing makes me sound like such a diva. But yeah, I'm cleaning and disinfecting behind myself when we use the same space. I'm not cooking. My kids and family are doing all the cooking. I haven't gone out to the stores. I'm not going to do that at all. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty.
How about you guys out there? What's going on in your lives?
What's actually ask Andy, because Andy's in London. Andy King, what's London like? Because you guys seem to starting to be taking this seriously, but I imagine it's like, did I hear right that the underground is closed? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be typing this. Thanks, Jen. Jen's just like taking notes for me. I'm going to type. It's London Underground closed. I could just Google it.
That would definitely put a real damper on all things.
I mean, because London is a cesspit anyway, and so now you have this like filth going around. Oh yeah, by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day.
So what's happening in Dublin?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I can see a few people on the balconies drinking.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I should do. Go to the balcony and drink.
We have someone in the US who's made a workspace in the closet. Okay. Interesting.
Most people are definitely starting to close their offices, says Andy. Simon reports from Dublin that no one is partying.
Oh, yeah, let me say happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, the thing, the parade got cancelled. All the like tourists just completely, fell out the bottom, and yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Pubs are, I can't remember if the pubs. I think the pubs are made to close now. I don't think it's a recommendation.
So here there was a recommendation until this morning: no gatherings of more than 50 people. But this morning in Ontario, they've declared a provincial state of emergency. So now bars and restaurants have to close, except for takeout. And so it wasn't just a recommendation; it's now a mandate.
It's a mandate. I think our countries seem to be on a similar level, aren't they? Canada, Norway, and Ireland, like they all seem to be taking it pretty equally serious. Obviously, Norway is doing it better, but in general, we're taking it equally serious. It's messed up. It's weird, like because obviously St. Patrick's Day is a huge income thing for the country with tourists and stuff. So they reckon this is going to have a big hit on us.
So were there a bunch of last minute cancellations for St. Patrick's Day? Must have been people who were going to come in even just for a long weekend to party and have fun or not there, right?
I guess. I mean, all the flights are offering refunds, and Airbnb, I think, are offering full refunds and stuff like that. So I'd be surprised if people came. But then at the same time, you've been planning a trip to Ireland for ages. I imagine there are a lot of people over here, but I don't know what they're going to be doing.
I know my sister-in-law and and brother-in-law are also I think they're in Scotland right now, but they're trying to get back, but they can't get through the airlines. They can't. They're like, how are we supposed to get home if we can't actually get through to the airlines?
Yeah.
To get a flight that they're now charging 5 times as much for. So it's a bit crazy for people who are still out of country for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's people like locked in Italy and locked in places that they can't get out of, and that would be pretty scary if like, if you're away from your family just for a couple of days and then you get trapped in that stuff. It's awful.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everyone just shuts everything down for a few weeks and, we get news, but.
Well, and here's Clay too, talking about big party in Vegas. I heard that MGMs have shut down completely. That's bananas, Clay.
Yeah, casinos shutting down is a big move, but.
Did that even happen at 9/11?
Good point. Is this the biggest thing of our lifetime? Is it bigger? Is it bigger than 9/11? Like, is it like it's a bigger reach than 9/11, isn't it?
I would say.
Well,
I would say yes.
And I think the next couple of days are going to be really what determines how long it goes on for. Like,
Yeah.
9/11 was acute and scary, and one of the things that was scary about it in those acute first few days was, holy shit, how much more of this is going to happen? How long is this going to go on for? But then it was relatively contained. Still changed the way we travel, and it was so funny. It was
Someone is moving outside my window.
Being in airports last week, and which was awful, and definitely going to be something that's going to stick with me for a long, long time. But I remember thinking, do you still want to check my fucking liquids? Like, seriously? Why are you worrying about whether this is over or under 100 milliliters of liquid when we're in a lineup full of people breathing on each other?
Yeah, I mean, I read a really good article, and I think I shared it on Twitter. I'm not going to type this because it's too complicated. But they were basically saying about all the things that are going to change or are changing because they were just rules for no reason in the past. Like we were just like, suddenly we've cut all this red tape, and suddenly we've changed all these systems, which we were just doing because, I don't know, because people want to control or whatever. Historically it got introduced, and now we're looking at it being like, wait, why are we going through all these steps? We don't even have to. So I think like the permanent changes will be really interesting to see what never comes back.
Well, and that, I just put it into the chat. That's a good point, because I think we can relate to that about in charities. We have rules for no reason that no one knows why we're still doing them. And then, might that certainly working from home was one of them. When I left my first major full-time job in fundraising and wanted to move in with my now self-isolated husband, that wasn't available. Mind you, it was just after the dinosaurs roamed and the earth cooled.
And your husband's been self-isolating for years.
Ever since, yeah. He loves social distance. It's like, this totally fits him like a glove. But it is true that back then, it was only whatever that was, 15 years ago or so, it was off the table. Like, you can't possibly work from home. That wouldn't work. Our company's not set up that way. And I think one of the things that we're now realizing is that lots of organizations are set up effectively for this. But except for the big one, which is, and I know B likes to make fun of us for this, which is fair. We still are check-based. Most of our organizations receive money by checks. What happens when mail is either being delivered in a very interrupted way, or there's nobody at a charity to cash checks?
Wow.
Or no one wants to head out to the post office.
So the implications of not having a fully functioning postal service and people working at charities opening mail and depositing checks is a real fear for lots of people right now.
Wow.
You guys are bad at typing, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not typing.
Oh, John. Okay, well, we'll probably end up just publishing the video.
There's a question here. What's the top priority strategies for fundraising we should be looking at? Digital, planned giving, etc. From Isabel. I don't know. Like, right now, I think you can't really put a fundraising message out unless it's either related to something you can do to help with the pandemic, or it's an urgent downfall of cash for you. Like, you basically need to fundraise not to go under. And any other thing, I don't think you'll be able to get through. Like, people just don't have the mind space for it.
Jen and I were talking about this morning, because we have clients who are looking at doing a legacy lead generation, direct mail pieces. Put that on hold. That's got to stop. But we have another client who wants to run some Facebook ads for lead generation, so more acquisition, of which we're saying.
Is it irrelevant?
Well, I would say now it's actually very timely to do. We talked about this on a chat a couple of weeks ago, to do a legacy piece. There are people, I guarantee, are thinking about their wills right now, if not contacting lawyers to rewrite them, or change them based on the current climate. So isn't now a good time to be out saying we're an organization, you can put us in your will?
I mean, it's as good a time as any. And like yesterday, me and B were talking, and we were talking about how we assumed acquisition would be, dead in the water for a while because so much uncertainty. And then someone came in, they were saying they were having great acquisition results. So I feel like actually maybe nothing in fundraising needs to change as much as we think. It doesn't ground to a halt. People still want to help. People are still trying to stay active. Maybe the medium has changed. Maybe it's going to shift digital a bit more, but the will to give and people's capacity to give, that's still there completely.
Because it's a powerful act, right? To give it's empowering.
Healing.
To do that. It's healing. So I think people are looking for moments of that right now. So yeah, I wouldn't say that fundraising is going to grind to a halt. But like Jen says, if you're an organization in North America and no one's going to the office to collect checks, that's a big problem.
And I think
I would worry that it comes off as a bit sort of out of touch if you talk about something that isn't Corona related right now.
Except that there's a context for that, because I think certainly the two big examples, and in fact the clients I'm dealing with in the last 20 minutes, which I'm currently ignoring, but I'll get back to you once this is over, I promise. Arts and environment. I mean, a huge chunk of our clients are arts, environment, and social justice organizations. And arts organizations are going to be disproportionately impacted by this, because if people aren't going to the symphony or the theater or the play, then they're not making that membership-based revenue. And then it's going to be harder to actually give. But we are seeing people saying, I was going to go to Hamilton next week. I know you've canceled it, but keep my money and I'll use it as a donation. And then for environmental charities,
then it's relevant.
And for environmental charities, they're able to say, I know this is a hard time, but you can still bird watch from your window. You can still open your window and let the light in. You can still take a walk around your block and reconnect with something that grounds you and makes you feel good and makes you feel joy. So there's a nuance there that I think, acknowledging that your donors and that all of us as citizens are going through an unprecedented change, but that giving to charity or connecting with the charities you love can be a healing source.
Like, because every cause is affected by this. Like, I saw someone arguing that the causes that aren't affected by this need to step back, but I haven't thought of a single cause that isn't affected by this. So who was that? Sadie.
That's also a new normal.
Sadie, you're supposed to be isolating.
She was within a meter.
She's supposed to not be within a meter.
What is it, 2 meters?
You put it the wrong way around.
Sadie, you're going to get us all.
Sadie, Simon's shouting at you, but you can't hear him because of my earpods. Do you want to wave? Hello? Wave.
Hi, Sadie.
I said.
I was doing the same thing when I got home today, because I arrived by train this morning to my parents' house, and we're sort of doing the opposite magnet stuff. So like whenever they would come within a meter of me, I'd automatically go to the back. Yeah, my mom was like pushing me around the living room. It's like, no.
It's not. There's a couple people on LinkedIn commenting. Claire Warner has said, life here goes on as usual. She's just had to herd her next door neighbor's sheep back into the field with a bucket of stones. Mark Astorita has said he's going to rewrite his will tonight, and he's sure other people will too. But he's pretty wealthy, isn't he? Like most of us don't have anything to give away. Dwayne Saunders, my charity spent the last week working business continuity. Opening post and banking legacy checks was a high priority. Email correspondence and electronic transfers are now preferred.
Yeah,
it's going to change the way people give, is it, long term?
Well, not for Norway, but
true.
Yes,
true.
For the rest of you, maybe things will move more digital.
Yeah,
like Glamour says, which I suspect is Martin, says here, it's time to get rid of checks. It's no longer normal internationally. And he also has a couple of examples of NSBCC fundraising that talks about children now having to stay at home with their abusers, which I think is definitely the kind of fundraising that is very relevant and sort of touches on the moment. So I think that kind of fundraising could be immensely successful. However, I think it depends on whether people feel like their own incomes are threatened. Like just looking at myself, for instance, Glamour didn't like me blowing their cover. Sorry, we're going to bleep that in the. But yeah, so I hadn't donated to any of the causes for the last couple of weeks because I know that my work is getting cancelled or postponed. My own income is very uncertain for the foreseeable future, at least for 2 or 3 months. However, now our government's been out and sort of said, "Don't worry, we've got you. We'll cover any shortfall of income for freelancers and self-employed people. And that means I can once again donate because I don't fear for my living in this. So I don't know. I think that's going to be another factor. So it's going to be how relevant is it, and how, what's the financial uncertainty going to do to the market?
And I would add a second or third component to that, which is what about organizations who have to radically change their program schedule because of COVID-19? Not just arts organizations, but healthcare organizations.
Sure.
We work with an organization that works with sick children who have cancer. And so they've canceled their programs that they normally run in hospitals because they can't risk bringing COVID-19 into the hospital room of a child who's already sick, or risk having their staff and volunteers get sick. So they're actually not running any programs.
No.
They technically, if you take it to a very simple, what's the problem that I can solve conversation that we have with donors, they're not currently running any programs. So how do you raise money when you're not running programs and you're basically just in limbo? That's a very difficult question for a lot of charities that, of course, we all know that we need long-term sustainable funding. Even if we're not running programs for a few weeks, that doesn't mean we stop our fundraising. But for those of us that do very specific problem solution fundraising, there is a consideration there among how do we message this appropriately so that it's authentic, but that also so that it's not disingenuous.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we see a lot of funders now making their grants unrestricted, so that's not going to be what makes a charity go under, is because they can't do the program delivery when it just wouldn't be safe to do so, which is a responsible thing to do.
I'm just responding to Bruce's comment here in the chat about being on the phone. Simon, I'd love to hear your thoughts on phone as a channel in this particular time, because it seems to me like being on the phone is talking about an upgrade campaign, but being on the phone right now might be better than being in any other channel, because at least you can say, how are you? Are things well? We're thinking of you. Let me tell you more about what's going on.
Yeah, well, I love phone in that as a channel. It was always outperforming most places. It was always giving one of the best ROI, and I think now it's going to come into its own again. And I've heard of places who are shifting their face-to-face fundraisers onto the phone. And I think anyone who's not using the phone needs to look back at this, whether it's just checking in with donors. Bruce has the suggestion there of offering payment holidays to regular donors, which I think is an interesting one. And I actually think you'd probably make money off that if you called around suggesting people, giving people the opportunity to take a break. I think people would donate to you more than you lost if you did it right. But I think now's the perfect time. If you're looking for things to do, you can do it from home. Everyone's at home. You're more likely to get in touch with people. If not, you're leaving voicemails. Phone's always going to be a good channel. So I think it was probably underrepresented to start off with, but now it's like here's an opportunity. Just having these conversations with people, because I think it's like impossible to know where people stand on this. Yeah, like we're all uncertain and we're all worried, and we all have very particular issues we're facing at the time being, which is maybe true all the time. And the thing that's great about phone is that it's a conversation. So you don't have to assume anything going into it. You don't have to say, this is an appeal, or this is a thank you, or this is a check-in, or this is, a question. You don't have to make that decision.
Just pick up the phone. Yeah.
You just pick up the phone, and the person takes you where they want to take that conversation. And if it's appropriate to ask them for money, you can. If it's appropriate to ask them to set up a fundraiser, you can. And if it's appropriate to give them a break from donating, you can. And so I think, I've always loved phone, and I think now is a great chance to pick up on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good point what Bruce is saying, that this is you might take a hit short term, but it's definitely going to build loyalty long term. And you might not even take a hit short term, because people are the ones who can afford to keep donating will probably do so.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think the worst thing you can do now is like try and hide from the fact, people are talking about stopping communications because they don't want to like remind donors, or they don't want to, give them more. But I think communication is key here. If you have an open conversation, you can see where people are at. People want to help, or they need to change their circumstances. And I think if anything, we should all be communicating more.
So there's a comment here from the unnamed person from Germany, who is also the IFC ambassador for Germany. And he says that he had a problem with a funder who gives a yearly grant to an organization who just said that they will reduce the grant because the organization is not able to do its work for 1 month. And the consequence is that the freelance project worker will not be paid for the next 4 weeks at least. I wonder if that's just sort of a knee-jerk reaction to say, well, since you're not doing this, we're just going to stop the grant. And I wonder if you had a conversation with them to sort of explain what the consequence is and ask that they keep supporting you through this time, whether they might change their mind. They might, are they not seeing the whole picture, or are they actually, being assholes about it?
Mm.
Or maybe they've also, which is another point that was raised in a different meeting I was in yesterday, where a lot of these funders have actually huge placements in the stock markets, and their portfolios have completely crashed. So can they not afford to fund right now?
Absolutely, they're all fucked as well.
What about charities with big endowments? Like charities with big endowments that use some of their endowment, use the principal on their endowments to run their programs, and now their total investment portfolio is worth 70% of what it was worth last week. I mean, that's a huge impact.
Fucked. And the supply chain of what everyone's getting is fucked, and everything's fucked. Yeah. And I don't mean it, I don't want to sound flippant or negative, because actually I think a lot of positives are going to come out of this, but it's like a whole mind shift change where we need to move past. It's like moving past money almost. And I'm always careful about getting too communist about all this stuff and showing my true colors. But it's like, there comes a point where it's like, okay, everyone's fucked except for all these really wealthy people who are hoarding money just in case. It's time to level this off so that there's like a universal basic income. There's access to free healthcare and free education and free childcare and all this stuff. That we have to go down that road, because sorry to bring you on into this, but capitalism doesn't work. If you want to log off, I totally understand. I didn't mean to shift lobster chat into like a communist manifesto, but like it just these are exceptional circumstances where you have to realize we're all worried about ourselves, but everything is fucked. Everything is fucked, and they all feed into each other, and so we have to support each other, like unquestioningly. Yeah. The currency fluctuations can also have big implications for some charities. Yeah, I don't even know what's happening in currencies at the moment.
Well, the Norwegian currency is down quite a lot because of the oil. The dropping of the oil price. I don't know if that's going to be short term or long term. We'll see how the economy recovers. But yeah, it is just none of us, obviously, we've never experienced anything like it, and it's that uncertainty, I think, that is the biggest driver of any market panic now. We don't. What happens when you put the whole world on pause for 2 months? Like, what do we even do? Do we stop all payments to everyone? Does no one charge for anything? Well,
if no one charges and no one has to pay, everything starts to work.
We should be fine.
But we've tried that in the past, or certain countries have tried that in the past, and it hasn't worked.
Have they? Which ones?
Like communist countries, essentially.
Well,
but I think it's a different time now. And again, this is my last thing on capitalism and communism. But it's like it's a different time of transparency now, where it's like you look at these mega rich and you can see their wealth, whereas before it was kind of you couldn't really see it. Now you can see everyone, and you can see if something's unfair. There's like more transparency now because of the internet. And so maybe things have changed. Did I tell you my idea? Like my idea is very simple, is that we cap wealth at a level at the level the second wealthiest person is
In the world or in your country?
in the world. So we'll start in the world, and then we'll see how it goes. So my proposition is that no one should have more than $100 billion in wealth. That's my proposition. And
Okay,
so
I don't think we can go down this particular rabbit hole.
so we vote on it, and so essentially the only person it affects is at the moment is Jeff Bezos. So he loses $6 billion. $6 billion goes into the COVID
Trickles down.
fund. No one else is affected, but we have $6 billion more to tax. So then him and Bill Gates are equal. And then as soon as one of them increases again, they get pulled right back down to that second thing. So you're always capped at what the second person adds. That's my political platform.
Okay. Well,
$100 billion is still a completely ludicrously unreasonable amount of money for any
it's
single human being.
It's a good place to start because there's not many people who disagree with that.
True. That's
There's
true.
one person.
Just
one person
Yeah,
disagrees.
the other dick. Yeah, the second richest dick.
Yeah. Are you guys working nonstop, or are you taking time to like mental health, do nothing? What are you doing for spare time?
well, for right now, I'm working whatever work there is left, and starting next week, I'm going to have a lot of spare time. Unless
We're in
you know,
triage.
Yeah.
I feel like certainly with our clients, and mind you, I've only been home since yesterday because I was away all last week.
Yeah.
So, but all the phone calls and emails that I'm getting yesterday and today from all of our clients, our biggest clients and our smallest clients, is saying, should we keep doing what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
What should we do 2 weeks from now? What should we do a month from now? How's this going to affect our whole year? And for every organization, that's a different conversation. And for the way in which we serve and support each of our clients is totally different. So, and I don't see these calls letting up. I mean, even if the projects that we're working on right now are actually going to end up in people's inboxes or mailboxes within 2 weeks or a month from now, the reality is we don't know what's going to be different, So our recommendation is keep fundraising the way you are, keep asking for money, acknowledge how people are feeling and acknowledge what's going on, respond specifically to COVID-19 if you can. But that we have to stay the course.
Yeah, I think that the acknowledgement, I think you've wonderfully put that, Jen, and I think that's the key word for me, is it's not about burying your head in the sand. It's not about running away, but it's acknowledging this is what we're all dealing with. So let's talk together about ways we can deal with that. We don't expect anyone to sacrifice their health or their happiness, but there's still stuff we can all be doing together to further our cause, whatever our cause is.
You've got a couple of joiners to your political platform who also don't believe capitalism works. Well,
I mean, this is I'm sorry, but it's like this is exposing everything. It's exposing all the problems in it and where it falls down, and just the crazy inequality. I love Tom Hanks and Idris Elba, but they're diagnosed. They're going to be all right. They've just they've checked into a lovely Australian hotel, or Tom Hanks's, and fair play to him, and he deserves it. But we all deserve that. We all deserve to be safe and secure. And
in fairness to Australia, I think they were testing everyone, not just Tom Hanks.
Yeah. And I'm not criticizing Tom Hanks. No. God, I would never criticize.
And they were doing that here as well. Like they were testing everyone who had been in a risk area or who had been in contact with someone who was in a risk area until the levels reached a certain level where continuing down that route would just take up huge amounts of health workers' time, rather than focusing on treating those who are testing and treating those who are in the risk groups or who we need, basically a healthcare worker or a policeman or whichever. Our biggest problem is that the assholes are insisting on staying in their cabins in the mountains, in tiny villages where the healthcare system is in no way has capacity for either treating those who get sick if you happen to have a heart attack while they're up there, you can't get treated because they're busy treating their own inhabitants of that tiny village. But they're
It's
like,
such
oh,
a
no,
weird
no.
one. So
I want to be isolated in the mountains where I can go skiing and not risk meeting other people. Yeah, but don't be an asshole about it. But go
I
home.
get it, and I imagine they didn't necessarily think it through. Like I'll tell you what happened here.
Sure.
With no, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm just kind of giving this other side of it. It's like, say Caroline, say my son's mother. Let's call her Caroline. She so on Friday we were all supposed to be going to the UK. I was already in the UK. We were supposed to be having a holiday in the UK, and literally while I was on the plane, all the schools got shut down in Ireland. Everything kind of got locked down, and so then I was not stranded in the UK, but it was kind of like, fuck, I really don't want to be here. I want to be back in Ireland with Harrison and stuff like that. So Harrison's mum kind of panicked, not really panicked, but she retreated to her parents who are down the country, because the thinking was there's a lot more space down there. There's, it's a lot easier to relax. There's loads of food down there. We just felt safe. She felt safer that was where she would isolate. Now,
I 100% get it.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Just that by that time you don't know if you're infected, first and foremost, but also if something else happens, the healthcare system in that place can't take care of you.
Completely.
So I have no problem understanding people heading up to their cabins. But they've since Thursday pleaded with people to head back down to where they live.
Is that what they want? They want them to go back now?
Because, they had to make a new law. This was enacted in law on Friday that if your cabin is in a different municipality to where you reside, you're not allowed to be there.
Wow. Yeah, because basically we're in a situation now where it's a little difficult to bring Harrison back, or for Caroline and Harrison to come back, although it can be done. And actually that's probably what's going to happen. But then we're up in Dublin, whereas I can't really go down to my son now because he's with his grandparents. And so, I don't know where I stand. Yeah, I'd be bringing it down. Yeah. So that initial response, which we all agreed seemed like the right response. Now it's like, oh, fuck, here's all these consequences of that split decision. And that probably wasn't necessarily the best thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
Like the skiers. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be assholes who are like, there's people now who are like, people were still in pubs up to closing, like they had to be dragged out by the police and stuff because it was like, just go home.
I worry about our friends in the US.
100%.
More than usual?
More than usual.
More than usual, yeah.
Yeah.
Their social fabric is like fucking thin, bare thin. And I think it won't take much to put the whole system.
Big holes in that now.
Yeah. It could get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. I accidentally hoarded like 25 cans of crushed tomatoes. I didn't mean to.
Hoarded?
Accidentally. Because I was shopping online, and so many other people were shopping online that the site had hiccups. So the brand I tried to get, they didn't have them. So it said please replace with another one. I clicked the link, nothing happened. Clicked the link again, nothing happened. So I did that a couple of times. And at my door yesterday appeared 7 little trays with 4 cans in each. So I have I've got crushed tomatoes until actual Armageddon.
That's what you're living off. See Clay here. Clay lives in a decently affluent area of town. It's such a bragger. I literally cannot find meat, bread, eggs, milk, basics because so many people are selfishly hoarding. Yeah.
Wow.
What they've started doing in Ireland, and maybe it's the same in your places, they're opening up supermarkets for elderly people early, or whatever, the first hour or two is just for elderly people to go and get their stuff in the morning and not be faced with all these sneezing windbags and people hoarding and stuff like that. So they just pick up their essentials and then they open up the supermarket to the rest of the people, which is pretty cool. Accidental Hoarders is the name of Bee's new punk poker crossover band.
Clay, we love you.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. I'm a bit disappointed, Clay, that you couldn't come up with like a musical reference for that. This is what you usually do. So try harder.
Clay, Sadie is here and she wants to know how the dogs are. He's typing. He can't
Type quickly,
hear.
Clay.
That's okay. We'll catch up later. But fundraising dogs, I think, have been, for those of us who are self-isolating, a meter away from our lovely daughters. Our dogs have helped us for sure.
And
Yeah,
Beth
it's like
says,
fundraising dogs are the
Aurelia
only
is run out
winners
of
in this.
lentils.
Fundraising dogs have been the only winners in this. That is totally true.
So,
Well, not the
here's
only
a
winners,
question.
the climate.
So if you're fundraising for animals, how is that? Is that not a tough ask right now? We have a friend who fundraised for an SPCA. No,
No, animals is never a tough ask. There's always a reason to ask for animals.
but they can't get the virus. I mean,
No, but their care is affected. The supply chain is affected of their food and stuff they need. Volunteers, animal places rely heavily on volunteers, and volunteers are probably being advised not to come in, or they have to be extra clean, and so there's extra cost there. I bet they're cleaning places a lot more because there's lots of germs, and so they need more cleaning supplies. Like, there's definitely angles, and then you have a whole section of the population who are like, this is humans' fault. Humans have caused this. Humans are making this worse. My beloved animals are the only ones who you can trust, and I'm going to continue to give all my money there. Absolutely, I'd say animal charities will do well out of this.
I think so too. I think animal charities and any kind of maybe a disease type charity, the charities where you have a strong personal connection, they would be the last to go from any cutting of donations. Whereas acquisition right now, unless it's really relevant to the virus or to your charity's survival, I don't know if you can do it.
Beth Upton just made a good point about a lot of UK animal charities rely heavily on entry fees for visitors for income. It's a good point about zoos, right?
Mm.
Like, there's been enough clamoring about how are zoos even appropriate anymore in 2020? Should we even have animals in zoos? Will this be a death knell for organizations like that, where you're kind of on the bubble? SeaWorld is a terrible example for those of us in North America, right? Already highly controversial, considered maybe we don't need you anyway, but they rely on people wanting to come for the magic and mystery of the orca and these other beautiful animals. And if they don't have bums in seats, and they don't have an ability to make a legitimate case for why they need to be there, and they don't have the nostalgia of like, oh, it's so wonderful to take that day out with the family and go and sit with a bunch of other crowded people and cough at each other and eat cotton candy, that could be the end. I mean, I don't think so, but these are questions that these are questions that all organizations are asking themselves. And frankly, probably donors probably saying, I have less money to give. I have more urgency for the charities I love the most. Who of these 5 or 6 charities I support regularly, I'm going to support 3 from now on. Who are the other 3 that I'm going to cut? It's impossible to know what the downstream implications will be.
Is SeaWorld's closed? Is it? Is that what you said?
I think I'm not sure about the one in Ontario has closed ages ago, but I don't know about some of the other ones in the other parts of the world. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Interesting from Clay and Hava here about fostering being an option now, where you could help people who are isolated. That's good. I think I think right now it's about turning it around, right? We've seen here a couple of charities whose outreach programs have been put on pause. They've put their staff to work on a voluntary helpline, like corona information type helpline. So basically helping out the government take some of the brunt of all of those questions and insecurities that people have. And same with, like you say, if you can put your fostering program on speed to help work with loneliness and isolation, that'd be something that I think endears you to donors as well.
Crazy times. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's always a way to like position this, and I don't want to sound like sleazy salesy stuff in terms of like there's always a way to do it, but it's just about I can't imagine. I'm sure there's not a cause out there who's not feeling the effect by it, and it's just about communicating that. It's about being open and transparent with what you're going through, and people are going to respond to that.
Yeah, one of my clients has the first direct mail of the year out this week. It's going to land in the mailboxes maybe tomorrow, and I don't know how that's going to go, because it was written a month ago, right? So there's no mention of, which was a different world altogether.
Yeah.
Like last week was a different world.
I know, that's ridiculous. It's going to be like, imagine going out. Don't you love when you're at a party and you're
right?
like hugging your friends?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, and that's one of the things it says. Like, there's some advice in there. It says, stay social, go out, meet friends. Like, maybe not right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, so we have done a bit of a reaction piece for board members and other volunteers that might come in contact with people who might respond negatively to what could seem as a bit of a tone deaf piece. But hopefully, this is going to our very warmest and most loyal supporters, so hopefully it'll still do good enough.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And I don't think there's a consultant in the world who would claim to know what your response rates are going to be. Actually, no, I'm sure there is, but I wouldn't claim to know what any response rates are going to be. But it'd be interesting to see what people experience.
Dogs are not for coronavirus; they're for life. I like the ad. Andy suggested ad copy.
We had to rewrite. Bruce is saying we had to rewrite our March appeal just before it went out to include reference to our response to CV-19. Yeah, if you have the opportunity, and we're talking about this with a couple of projects we're working on right now. If we have the opportunity to add a note in direct mail that says, basically, we know what you're going through. We're all in this together. It's never been more important than now that we stand together and stand up for what we value the most. But if you happen to be in an active campaign now that you couldn't have identified this last week, I can't imagine there won't be a massive implication on existing fundraising programs that don't have the opportunity to adapt and be nimble, which I think is, going to affect all organizations.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about remote working, but apparently we didn't do that. Do we care about
everyone's mind is on coronavirus. Yeah.
Are we wrapping? And we're over time as well. We usually only do half an hour, and this has turned into 50 minutes.
That's because we usually type, and we type faster than we talk.
That's weird.
Well, do we want to spend do we want to round it up to an hour and spend the last few minutes talking specifically about fundraisers working from home?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, because apparently I'm hosting, is let's make the last 5-10 minutes positive. What are we doing in this time to manage it? So what any working from home tips, any mental health tips? How are you getting through this? That's what I'm asking everyone.
Well, I don't know if this is a positive thing, but it is a surprising thing that I have learned. And it is that it is more disruptive to working from home, having your parents around than having kids around, which I didn't see coming.
That's weird. So you're saying with your parents?
Yes.
That's good advice.
Well, because I'm in self-isolation, as I said, so I'm doing early morning walks, and after, before the sun comes up, after the sun comes down, I'm going outside with my dog. I'm not cooking and cleaning.
Like a vampire.
I am like a vampire. I'm not cooking and cleaning, which is nice. My family's doing all the trips to the shops. But I'm practicing yoga every day. I'm still getting to my desk at roughly the same time I normally do, which is early, but that's okay. And I'm still leaving my desk at roughly the same time. I think one of the huge mistakes that people make when they get into a work from home mode is that you're constantly half working as opposed to actually working and then stopping and then working and then stopping. So I saw this tip. I don't think it was related to charities, but somebody said, maintain your routines, have a shower, like go to work the way you would normally do, which I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm usually in my pajamas for most of the day, unless I have to do a phone call. But I do think there is something about that routine. Start work when you normally do, stop work when you normally do, take breaks when you normally do, eat lunch away from your desk, even though Sadie brought me my lunch today. I think those are important, basic, when you're not used to working from home things. I would suggest that those would be important.
That's good.
What I'm doing is, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a couple of people on LinkedIn. Dwayne has said his team is using Microsoft Teams. We are Skyping twice a day to have a virtual tea break and a catch up, which I think is really interesting because when you work in an office, you don't really have shared tea breaks anymore, or a lot of people don't. It's like you're always working, and it's just like it doesn't have those set times in a lot of places. Whereas to actually, I feel like one of the positives coming out of this, and I think there is a lot of positives eventually, is that we're making time for each other. And even
that's exactly what I was going to say. And it sort of connects to what Clay just said. These kinds of meetings are a bomb. It's great to connect with people from all over the world and realize we're not alone. And what I've done these past couple of days is actually I've talked to more of my friends than I normally do in a week. Like you take the 5 minutes and you do a FaceTime to a friend who might live in the same city, but that you normally talk to once every month or two. And you sort of just make that space to talk. And just as we were starting this, another old friend of mine called me on the phone, which obviously I had to decline the call and I'm going to have to call her back. But it's like these people that you don't normally talk to, you now have conversations with. And so I actually, even though you don't not seeing people face to face, you're actually having more conversations.
Yeah, my mental health has never been better. Mark Asterita is saying, and he has an OBE. Do you guys know what an OBE is?
No.
It's like a big award that the Queen, I think the Queen gives it to you in England.
Like the Order of Canada. Yeah.
British Empire. It's like
yes. Oh God, British Empire. What a great word.
So he's a big deal, I guess. But he's a good fundraiser. Having fundraised more emergency fund than almost anyone in the UK, my experience is that this will focus minds. No more faffing. Cash is king, so cut back on acquisition, concentrate on existing supporters. Direct mail will come back with a roar. Yeah, I mean, he's saying in appeals,
that's good advice.
Get more focused and we make it happen.
It's an excellent time for practicing some donor love and donor care, which is basically what he's saying, focusing on those who are already close to you. Mm-hmm. Which is, I think, good advice.
Here's Seth saying he's doing video lunch breaks with colleagues just to be social and presumably a virtual quiz on Fridays. Like it.
Yeah,
like it. John?
This is all a lot. This is all.
Yeah. Like I've set you up with your own promo.
Thanks for that, Simon. Yeah. I talk more on Twitter than I do on these chats sometimes.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah. This is all a lot.
Yeah.
All this is a lot.
Well, yeah. I'm here for you whenever you want.
I mean, a lot of people used to working in offices and hanging out with people all the time. So having the away time may feel kind of nice, but for people like me who already work by myself, Jen's up the road, and Waterloo and stuff, this feels even more isolating. And I already feel pretty isolated most of the time. So I find that even talking to people like this is nice, but I valued my FaceTime with real people. So now I don't have it at all. And it seems really, at times, really isolating.
Are you freaking out about it?
I'm trying to focus on my work and my business and, my business partner, what she needs, and my family and what they need. Just, to kind of keep me grounded a little bit. Yeah, sorry. I also just like, oh my God.
It is. I saw someone tweeted that we shouldn't call it social distancing, but physical distancing, because we need each other more than ever now. Yeah. So we can't do social distancing.
I've never, in fact, I think that's a good point, B. And I've had, certainly because part of this is because of the nature of what was happening when we were away. And, I was on the other side of the planet with my 73-year-old dad. And by the time that was declared a pandemic, and we were very safe, but I suddenly got a whole bunch of calls and text messages from people like, hey, where are you? When are you on your way back? What's going on? Can I help you? And I reached out to a few people, including a very, very, very good friend of mine I was bawling my eyes out in my hotel room my last day in Norway. And I was able to reach out to her and say, I know you've been through stuff like this. Help me through this. And one of the things she said was, give me your flight numbers and I'll be tracking your flight. And every 1,000 kilometers, I'll like stand up and cheer, and I can't wait. And I knew that there were so many people who were out there kind of cheering on us to get home. And I've heard from cousins and family members. And again, part of that is because of my particular situation of coming home, traveling with my old dad. But it was on any other business trip that never would have happened to me. On any other regular day, I never would have had that. So that matters.
Yeah.
It's important.
Do you know what we should call it instead of social distancing? Is we should call it appropriate distancing. Because you know when you're like queuing at the airport and there's always some fucker behind you who's like leaning on your bag. That's not really happening anymore. And so I feel like this is going to weed out a lot of the people who were just oblivious.
Clueless.
We're going to call it adopting Norwegian personal space.
Yeah. Like you're at the supermarket and people are like, they just like come and stand in front of you and things like that. It's just like, it's like you're invisible to people. So now it's like, you know, you go into the supermarket, you do a quick cough, and then you've got your space to you for the rest of the journey. It's like people are insane.
Yeah.
All
right. Thank you to social distance and getting beat up by socks.
Right. Do you want to wrap it up?
So Beth says she wants more of these. And we're gonna. So this was less of a shit show than we might have initially felt. Then, if someone wants us to do it again,
Simon, stop touching your face.
Sorry, we need to find a way to like text and speak, or we just decide we're going to do one.
Yeah, what do you guys think in the chat? Should we all have just been typing, or should we all have been on video, or does the combination work?
You're giving me way too much credit. I can do one or the other.
Yeah,
and now we have to sit in silence while all these guys type out their replies.
Yeah, but yeah,
Beth is the only one who wants us to do it again.
Yeah, well, we'll do more. I mean, on Fundraising Everywhere. Sorry for the plug, but we have some free social events coming up. So if anyone wants to join those, we have some networking stuff. We've got. Sorry, I just ate before I went on. Karaoke. We've got coming up.
This doesn't happen in the written podcast.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll do more stuff like this with different combinations of people. And yeah. Okay, lobster fact. I have a lobster fact. I was trying to find an appropriate one and I couldn't because I forgot it was my turn. And so today's lobster fact.
Hold on, I have a question. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Can lobsters get any viruses of any kind? Are they?
Yeah, John, you have no memory for the
you totally
fact.
black out every time there's a lobster fact.
Have we talked about this?
Yes.
Well,
it was last week's lobster fact.
The very last lobster fact we did was exactly this.
You have brownouts when it comes to lobster facts.
What was last week's fact?
About epizootic shell disease.
What?
Huh?
Epizootic.
Simon, return to your lobster fact. Ignore these bozos.
Okay.
Sorry.
So mine is a lot of the facts on the internet seem to be more opinions than facts about lobsters. So just to warn you that. So people were once ashamed to eat lobsters because it was considered a poor man's food.
This is true.
Yeah, and because now it's like a luxury thing. It's like, oh man,
it's like a sea bug.
Having lobster, baby. Now, back in the day, it was like, wow.
Well, they are bottom feeders.
Yep.
Like Jen.
I don't know if you want to follow that analogy any further.
I love lobster, and that's one of the things I'm missing most.
Did you also? So there was
one a day.
I'm going to find, because there was someone that posted a story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if I can find it on Twitter because I've retweeted it. But someone posted the most embarrassing story of their life as a public service. Yes, I found it. I will now post it to the conversation. And I encourage you all to read this, but it involves her getting trapped on the fire escape, basically wearing nothing in a spa, and having to walk naked through reception, and someone hands her like an inflatable lobster, and that's the only thing she wears. So it's that whole story is a whole thing. So that'll be my positive ending. for this
I'm
chat.
gonna let me
Really
try
good
and
luck.
find. Before we wrap up, I'll try and find the Kim Kardashian clip.
It was
And-
linked. It was linked
I
all the
can-
way
I
at the
can
top of the
find
chat.
it. I think I have it now, so that's fine. What the hell?
Simon, what you do?
Did I do
And
it?
now we've only just got B.
It's all me
Oh,
now.
there.
Sorry, it's a B
It
special.
was unnerving.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The Lobster. Do you know the dystopian film by don't know that
Georgios
name from
Lanthimos. No.
2015?
What-
I do not.
What's
Is
the
that the one
plot?
with Colin Farrell? I think that
Oh,
must be
yeah,
the one with
yeah,
Colin
yeah, Colin
Farrell. Yeah, my brother talked about that one.
This
Yeah.
has gone under my radar.
Meant to be good, isn't it?
It's supposed to be good. Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get Kim Kardashian. All right, I'm gonna skip the chat for a second. Sorry. Where are we? Kim Kardashian.
I wonder where it was going.
Or from.
Oh, she's only done a 4-second clip. That's it. That's
I bet Kanye dropped it on the ground in front of her.
that's terrible footage.
That's terrible.
Well, at least good lobster spot. And remember, report your lobster sightings, and we will report on them on the next episode of Lobster Chat.
That's great.
Okay. Anything else to say, guys, before we
Just
wrap this up?
Stay safe. Stay
Be
sane.
well.
Stay in
Take care of
touch.
each other.
Yeah, look after yourself, everyone, and thanks to everyone who was here. Nice to see you all. Yeah. All right.
Right. See you soon. Talk soon.
See you guys. Chat to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.